Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Ben and I'm a self-taught web developer who went from zero to paid full stack in 8 months via the Odin project. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about the idea of software language dabbling and what exactly that is and my thoughts on that. If you like this kind of content, please do like the video, consider subscribing and leaving a comment below. Okay, dabbling in different languages. What is this exactly? The idea of dabbling is just when you play around in one or two different languages. Let's say, for example, that you are studying JavaScript mostly. But then you're like, you know what, Python looks somewhat interesting. C#, I wouldn't mind understanding what that is or how to use that. What about Java? I think I might play around in that a little bit as well. That's dabbling, okay? And I had a conversation the other day, very short, brief one. Someone had mentioned that they were thinking about studying different languages. So I think, they were using one language at work and then in their free time, they're playing around some other languages. And this is great. Honestly, if you want to play around, it's fine. But I think if you were to ask me the question of is it worth dabbling in other languages, it really depends on what your end goal is. And if your end goal is to get a job, I think you need to just stick to one language. And the reason for this is it allows you to specialize and understand that language, use that language very well as the, let's say, stack frameworks that are associated with that language. So if you're studying Python, then you're going to learn Django or Flask. If you're studying C#, you're going to learn .NET. If you're studying Java, you're going to get deep into Spring. If you're studying Ruby, you're going to get deep into Ruby on Rails. You see where I'm going with this. I think if you're doing a certain language and stack at work and you're still a junior, then it makes sense to just double down on that language and that stack and become very good. Unless you really dislike that language and stack and you just took the job because it's the only one you could get and you're looking to get somewhere else. But then in your spare time, I would say you really need to focus on that other language and stack that you really want to focus on to then become a specialist in that. Okay, so I think it's also going to really depend on where you're at in your journey. If you are new to software development, if you haven't got your first job yet, do not dabble, do not play around, do not go and spend a couple days playing around C#. You know what, Python's pretty cool, I'm going to try this tutorial. Ruby, you know what, that's really kind of cool looking and it's a little hard, but maybe I want to learn that because Rails is awesome, because it is. But really, don't dabble. You're best to just get very good, confident, competent in one language, one framework. Build some cool stuff with that one language, with that framework that you can then show that's then going to get you a job. As you get further along in your career, as you become more comfortable with a certain language and tech stack framework, then I say, if you want to dabble, knock yourself out, have a dabble, okay? Play around with different languages, build some stuff. A, you're going to pick up that language way quicker, and B, you have a lot less to lose because you've already become a specialist or an expert in a particular language and framework, or even multiple by that point in your career. That's the time to dabble. But if you're early on, please, if your goal is to get a job and to advance in your career as a software developer, refrain from dabbling. Really, I do not recommend it. Okay, if you're just doing this for fun, then dabble all you want, okay? But the more time you spend dabbling, the less time you're spending specializing. And specializing is what's going to get you a job. And the reason I say this is because companies are hiring you, they're paying you a high wage to provide value to the company. And the way that you provide value to a company is by writing code that's going to produce a feature that provides value to an end user. That's the only reason you're getting paid to be a software developer. And it's already hard enough. A certain language and framework and tech stack goes deep enough that it is hard just to get good at that single language and framework so that you're competent and proficient and efficient, okay? It's hard enough. So if you spend your time dabbling in other stuff, then you're just kicking that can down the road. And chances are it will be reflected in your performance at work, or if you don't have a job, it will be reflected in the fact that you're not specialized enough and not creating apps that are deep enough and complex enough to get you your first job. Okay, please don't dabble. This is just my opinion on this. Take it for what it's worth. But, I've gone through the paces. I'm self-taught. I got a job. And that's because I focused intently and solely on Ruby and Ruby on Rails. And, funnily enough, my first job was in Python. It was not even in Ruby and Ruby on Rails. However, the caveat there is I think the reason I got that first job was because I had focused solely and intently in Ruby and Ruby on Rails and built a functioning production application with real users. That was a very good thing to then show in an interview, which then the interviewer was like, okay, this person has demonstrated a high enough level of competency and mastery in this field that I am comfortable hiring them. Okay, that's my thoughts on dabbling. Play around all you want if your goals are just to experiment and play around. But if you are looking to get your first job or level up in your career, just double down on a single language and framework, get very good at it, and then when you're deeper in your career, dabble away. Okay, we all like to dabble now and then, but I think there's a time and a place. What do you think about dabbling? Are you a dabbler? I can see why people do it, because there's shiny object syndrome where, this blog article says that this language and framework's the best, and then this one does it, and then you get a new release of something that's awesome, and you want to dabble because you want that shiniest thing. But you know what? Sometimes the shiniest thing is just a distraction. It's only going to waste your time, and you're better off doubling down and specializing. All right, have a good one. We'll see you in the next video.